When a dismissive avoidant pulls back, should you match their energy? What does neuroscience say? Well, in today's video, we're going to break that down. We're going to start by talking about what I would call the neutral or maybe positive news in a sense, because it gives you clarity. And we're going to talk specifically about what happens from a neuroscience perspective to dismissive avoidance brains when somebody pulls away or pulls back. But then we're going to get into the most important part of this video, which is the maybe bad news, but important news. Because if you get this one thing right and deeply understand it, your entire world is going to change, your relationships will change, and the ability to connect with the right people is going to open up. And so we're going to take that neuroscience study and then we're going to talk about the practical application in everyday life to the answer to this question. So if you're new here, hello and welcome. My name is Gibson. And after almost 14 years of being both in private practice and then working in our online group coaching programs with tens of thousands of people at the Personal Development School, I'm here to share with you the most powerful insights for deep inner healing from your childhood and past relationships so that you can live your best life. And if that's something you're interested in, I hope you subscribe to this channel so you don't miss anything. Let's talk about it. There was a study done by somebody named Nathan DeWall in 2012, and it was called Do Neural Responses to Rejection Depend on Attachment Style? And there are three major points to this study. Point number one is that dismissive avoidants, in a sense, almost go numb when it comes to rejection cues. And in this study, participants played a social exclusion game. It was called Cyberball while they were in an fMRI scanner. And what this study showed is that anxiously attached people showed heightened activation in pain or monitoring areas of the brain, for example, the dorsal anterior cingulate, anterior insula, while avoidantly attached individuals showed blunted responses to social pain cues. In other words, deactivation for dismissive avoidance was a defense strategy. If I feel less, the person can't hurt me. Now, you probably already knew that about dismissive avoidance if you've been following this channel for a while. But here's point number two. Chasing somebody tends to actually amplify their threat system. So because their system is trying so hard to down-regulate closeness when they're feeling stressed, intense pursuit or emotional pressure often registers more like a threat, causing them to further retreat or withdraw. In other words, the brain essentially reads it as I'm being cornered, which in turn then reinforces the deactivation pattern the DeWall study found. So here's point number three, but then we have to get into the actual practical application of this. So please make sure you don't stop listening then, because that's not the point of this video. Point number three is that matching energy would in turn, yes, reduce a threat. So when you calmly match a dismissive avoidance pullback, essentially maintaining warmth, but respecting their space, you reduce the amount of threat their brain associates with a relationship. This then gives their nervous system time to re-equilibrate, essentially, making it easier for them to then re-engage voluntarily instead of from guilt or from pressure. However, that is usually the very thing I see in relationships that have two really painful outcomes. And I'm telling you this from a practical everyday experience because I've worked with tens of thousands of people at this point. There's usually two outputs from matching somebody's energy. And here's the bad news, but it's such important news. When you're doing that, even if it's well-intended, it's a form of manipulation. Rather than matching somebody's energy, you are so much better off getting into a relationship dynamic where you are clear about your standards, your boundaries, your non-negotiables, and your needs, and really deeply knowing yourself in that, and then being able to bring those things to the table. Because the second output of this is that if you constantly match somebody's energy and when they pull back, you pull away, you know what happens in a practical manner in this relationship dynamic? In the short term and short-term gratification components, yeah, the dismissive avoidant feels a lack of pressure and then they want to re-engage. In the long term, these types of relationships fizzle out. And I can tell you this with certainty. I see time and time again that people, when they get into this dynamic of like, oh, they pulled back, I have to pull back. When you do that with a dismissive avoidant, you know what ends up happening? One person pulls back, the avoidant, the other person who's more anxious tries to pull back. They go against themselves. They betray their truth in real time when they do this because they're looking for more. They're looking for attunement and connection and consistency. So they self-silence, they self-betray, they resent. They hold space by pulling back, trying to match the energy. And then the dismissive avoidant comes back in a little bit, but not a lot. The anxiously attached or fearful avoidant individual then are like, oh, they came back, and they get excited. And then the intermittent reinforcement cycle starts. And this whole idea of matching somebody's energy, especially when they're dismissive avoidant, just ends up creating a relationship purely on the dismissive avoidance terms and causes somebody on the receiving end of this, anxiously attached, fearful avoidant, to essentially feel like they are putting up with breadcrumbs and trying to literally pull the slot machine, hoping to win the dismissive avoidance attention. Intermittent reinforcement over time is addictive, but it's also painful. It causes somebody to fixate on the relationship dynamic, usually at the expense of themselves. And so what you're better off doing is actually getting clear, number one, about what it is that you're truly looking for in a relationship. And when you are able to say to a dismissive avoidant from a warm and respecting space, hey, I'm looking for more consistency in this relationship. Or, hey, I'm looking for us to continue showing up for each other in a different way. And that looks like ABC. ABC could be a date night once a week. It could be talking on the phone before bed. Whatever it is, you have to communicate your standards, your needs, your non-negotiables. And then your job is to vet how somebody shows up and decide if that is the right person for you. And when that's not happening, I promise you, the relationship doesn't end up getting enough steam to keep going in the long run, and you end up betraying yourself. Now, if you are somebody who is caught in intermittent reinforcement, wants to move through it, wants to come out of it, one of the best things you want to start by doing is regulating your nervous system. And I have a free gift for you that we're doing just for a limited time. It is a course all about nervous system regulation and somatic processing of emotions. It will help you feel secure, safe, and connected to yourself. It's one of our 6 major pillars of healing your attachment style. And it's literally for free with our 7-day free trial access to the Personal Development School. And you can check it out down below. So I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please subscribe to this channel. I would love to have you here. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of our daily episodes. And I'm doing a live stream every Saturday for the most part with Mike DeZio, our live stream podcast. Come in, check it out, ask us questions. It'll be 11:30 a.m. Eastern on most Saturdays. Can't wait to see you there. Thanks for watching.